The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And joining us in the Hesselson studio, Sheriff Allard. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Steuben County.
It always is. We got a couple comments. This is unrelated to you, so I don't want to throw you off. This is before you got in, but I got to read them. I hope the gun owners get together and vote Hochul out if they don't want to lose their guns. And Elise Stefanik better get in the race soon if she wants to be Hochul. Did you see that poll this morning? Oh, no. That heat.
Really?
Yeah. And she hasn't even declared.
I see she's been releasing statements.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I love how Trump endorsed Lawler for Congress.
Yes.
You know, that was a clear message.
That sends a message, yeah.
Another comment, I'm just wondering what happened to the no tax on Social Security. Suddenly, unless I missed something, that's off the table. Oh, I got you off the camera almost. Off the table, not mentioned again, seniors lose again. No, it's not off the table. They have to do it in a different way. It's not completely like the no tax on tips. It's because of, but that is still in the works. Don't worry. 6 Democrats have died in office over a few months. Yeah, that was interesting. Have you seen that? 6 Democrats have died in office this year.
Oh my.
There's a very big piece if you get a chance at the New York Post on it this morning. Okay, morning. Well, good morning. Just wondering, did any other governor put COVID-infected patients in nursing homes? Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I've heard of.
No, I think Cuomo would be running on that, to be honest.
And there was a lot of investigations, local investigations during COVID due to that.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, he actually has the audacity to run as mayor on his COVID legacy. Yeah, right?
Well, the one he manufactured.
Yeah, exactly. That book. Yeah. Mark writes, I wonder how many innocent people were 86th by Cuomo during COVID, not the fake or covered up version. Well, at least 15,000 is what that one group reports on. So, hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Comments are over. Sorry about that. No, I don't ever apologize for the comments. The comments are great.
They're good.
Okay, but it's unrelated to our interview. So I wanted to mention, because what a moving event every year, the 10th Annual Law Enforcement Memorial Service. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
It does. And you know, you've been around for most of them. And every year we try to add something new to the Memorial Park and into what we do. And you know, I see Nick Clark's dad there every year.
Yep.
And that's heartwarming, because I was there that morning when Nick was murdered, and you know, all that we've gone through since that time and the changes we made, and it's just, as I look through the list of folks that have died, and I look at it always goes through my mind the number of funerals I've been to.
Oh, sure. Line
of duty funerals, and
it's a tough memorial. I mean, it's tough to get through.
It is. It is.
Especially, I mean, I've said this a million times. Taps. I hope no one looks at me during taps. That's the toughest part.
Taps, and then Amazing Grace on the pipes.
On the bagpipes. It's so moving. And how great was that young singer?
She was amazing.
How do you get these young singers that don't have any nerves whatsoever?
I know, she popped right up.
Yeah.
Boom. And away she went. And nailed it.
Wonderful.
She was so good.
So I wanted to start on that note. Now we get into the kind of the nitty gritty, if you will. And I think you know what that is. Is there any update on the appeal?
So I got notified by my attorney this past week that the county filed for a 30-day extension.
Okay.
Of their ability to appeal.
Okay.
Which I guess they're kind of guaranteed in the law, according to my attorney.
How many times can they do it, I wonder?
Just once.
Just once, okay.
Well, they can apply more than once, but they're kind of guaranteed once.
Okay.
Then, you know, it kind of begs the question of why?
Why?
Because you're wasting more taxpayer money just to file, because that was another attorney document that had to be created.
Great point. Yeah.
And, you know, what's your plan? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
And why are you waiting another 30 days?
Yeah. How have you not made a decision yet? If this is a good decision, wouldn't you jump on it right away?
Would have already jumped on it if they thought they had an opportunity.
Have we heard any comments from them?
No, nothing. Absolutely
so everything
nothing.
is kind of done in secrecy. We just have another extension.
Once again.
What does it feel like for you personally to just almost like keep toying with you with a 30 day? Because this is 30 more days where it's on your mind.
Right, and it's just another, to me, it's another example of the county trying to exert some sort of control or what.
Yeah.
I don't know what. But it's sad because this costs the taxpayers money every time they do this. And as we look at this, why this is the most disturbing thing to me. Over the past several years, I've seen this increase, is the amount of things that are done in secret behind closed doors. And at times, I think it feels like the administration of the county, their default is to do things in secrecy rather than transparently, which they're required to do. And
they were exonerated by the judge.
Yes.
About the secrecy. Don't you think you'd err on the side of caution at this point?
Well, and it feels like, in whether it's true or not, it feels like they're doing things behind closed doors because they know they're wrong.
Yeah.
And when you're doing things are wrong, you don't want people to see.
You don't want it on record.
And I think for a long time, up until I finally said no, they got away with that. They would do things they knew they shouldn't do,
right?
And nobody challenged it. When you look at the 2 extensions of the term limits, which were set by public referendum,
yes,
they said, we don't think we have to go back to public referendum because we didn't think it needed it in the first place. Well, it doesn't matter. Parity of legislation tells you if it's set by referendum, you can't change it without referendum. And if you look at the county charter, it says right in the county charter that the current administration helped write that you can't change the terms of an elected official without going to public referendum.
Right.
So what are we doing here? But nobody challenged it, so it became law.
And no one. And there, a couple things on this. The problem is there's no coverage because they are secret. And in the media, and this is not a knock on anybody in the media, it's just that if you don't get a press release, you're not. The days of investigative journalism are probably long gone. Yeah. So if they can stay silent, you're not going to see the. I bet you, other than this program, I don't know if anybody's reported on the appeal, the 30-day.
Right.
And that's not a knock on anybody, but it's just everything is done in secrecy, and that's plays in their favor in this.
And I, this past legislative meeting, there was a resolution to change the administrative code. But when you click on the link, it doesn't tell you what the changes are.
Yeah.
It just has a copy of the administrative code. And so what are the changes? A, so that we can follow them.
Right.
But also B, what prompted the changes? What are they? And the last time they wanted to change things, I sent them a letter from the Sheriff's Association saying, hey, you can't do what you want to do. So now we don't publish what the changes are.
Okay. All right. Following along at home. One quick question. This is inside baseball. Do you think the term limits will be changed again in 2 years? We'll move on from that question.
I think there'll be a challenge if they try to.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
Just a certain date coming up in 2 years. Do you have like one of those debt ceiling clocks in your office that shows how much the county's wasting? So,
as you well know, my wife foils all of these. And that's, quite frankly, it's paid off in spades.
Oh, yeah.
In 2021, when the then chair, Vanetton, threatened to take away my indemnification the first time, and then in his deposition said he never threatened, through FOIL, we found a week later where they requested Phillips Lytle, the attorney's firm out of Buffalo, to research how to take away the sheriff's indemnification.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So what is technically, let me show my ignorance here, or maybe I shouldn't word it that way, just so people catch up. What exactly is it that they're going to appeal?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused.
There's no damages.
No.
All they want to do is not have to admit they were wrong.
Okay, so I'm not wrong, because that's what I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and I thought, well, what is it that they're actually appealing? When they asked me the question, I didn't have an answer.
Right.
So no one has an answer.
So the order invalidated the law that they passed. I guess that's what they're appealing. But
what a waste of money.
Well, and the order also said if you want to go back and vote on it, if you want to do it the correct way, the legal way, you could revote. Yeah. Take it away.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But they know that it was not done in good faith. They know that it was not done legally the way they did it. And so they're hesitant to do that. Plus, there was no reason for it.
No.
The only reason they did it, according to people that were in the room, was try to convince me to not run again.
How'd that work?
Well, you know,
would you have ran again if all this didn't happen?
yeah, because
would have, okay.
I would have. When I first ran, I told the deputies when I met with them that I would do 12 years
Gotcha,
because
okay.
I feel like in order to change a culture of a place, it's not fair to them to change over every 4
right,
years.
that is true.
And then have somebody else come in, no, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, no, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the employees to do that. So I told them, if I do this, we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
And we'll do 3 terms. And after 3 terms, if you still want me, we'll talk.
Yeah.
And if my wife allows me, we'll talk.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. So, yeah, I always plan to do at least 3 terms.
But going back to how we talked about the lack of coverage and people not even aware that there's this 30 days, I was really encouraged. I know I even reached out and texted you because I was really encouraged while taking out petitions how many people had the question about where does this person stand on the sheriff. And sometimes it wasn't even for the right office, but they're looking out for you. And I know you had that same experience when you were taking out petitions the last time for yourself, that it was kind of overwhelming because you don't know how closely people are paying attention.
And now they are. Where before they weren't. And that's what really thrills me about this current election cycle. We have 3 legislative seats being primaried.
Yeah.
We've never had that.
No.
As long as I can remember, that's never occurred. And it means that people are going, hey, this is our county.
Right.
We need to step up and we need to look at what's going on and we need to make sure that things are being done legally and transparently.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled to see the number of folks that are running. I'm thrilled to see the interest because, you know, when you have a group that's been in there, we've got some that have been there 18 years.
Right.
That's a career. That's not public service. And they're, you know, I heard Mr. Henry that's running for Attorney General against Letitia James next time. And he stated it very well. He said, some folks are public servants that are running for office and some are politicians. And when you start making decisions that are all about you and you use a public forum to make that, to cause you to feel better about yourself, you're no longer a public servant.
Exactly.
And when you ignore the cries of your constituents and the needs of your constituents, you're no longer a public servant. So I'm so excited to see a new group coming in that are excited to be public servants.
Yes.
And it's going to be such a refreshing change from what we have.
And you're right. This is almost unprecedented as far as I can remember because it's even been difficult, and we've had so many of them on the program already. Yeah. But it's been difficult, especially with the school budget vote and all of that, to say, it gets a little confusing for people because we're just not used to having primaries, and there's a lot of people running this year and that have very strong messages.
Well, and I think especially in this area, you're seeing a resurgence in the Democratic Party, so they're going to be running too. So I think all the voters are going to have a lot of choices. They won't just have one choice.
Right. Which is good.
It's very good.
It's a healthy thing.
Yep.
And I wanted to mention this because I don't think we talked about it last time on the program, or because it might have happened after. Yesterday I had a candidate for Steuben County Legislator, Michael Vellino. And and I thought that was really nice, and we talked about it on the show. I thought he did a good job. And I was excited to hear his take on. They felt the need to pass that resolution. What a wonderful, I think, just kind of being proactive. Stop wasting our money. Please.
Well, you know, it's funny. I did. I'll be on Talk of the Tiers on another. Somewhere else this Sunday, and that was one of the questions: is what makes Steuben County special? And I said, well, you got to start with the beauty of our county, from Cuca Lake to the hills to the everything in between. But the people, when you look at the vast majority of residents of Steuben County, they're not fooled.
No.
They are very well read, they're very well informed, and they keep up on what's going on. And you can have a slick talker out there.
Not going to work.
They're not buying it.
No.
Because they all have good common sense, by and large, and they all know what's right for our county. And when people start throwing out big terms and trying to encourage them, you look over here, look at the shiny thing.
Yeah.
While we're moving things over here, they don't fall for it.
They don't.
And
I also think
we're very lucky to be here.
We're very lucky, and that's why I was so encouraged when I was taking petitions out. But I also think it's interesting every time you're on the program that even residents in Chemung and some areas that obviously they were upset from day one because at the end of the day, you were elected by the people overwhelmingly too. By the way,
you were. I didn't realize it was 78% until I heard Mr. Valino say that on the show yesterday.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's pretty good data.
Yeah. Now, who are those other? No, you can't look at it that way.
A word with those folks.
But no, I just think that's what upset so many people in Chemung and elsewhere, saying, "I know I couldn't vote, but this was about the voice of the people."
Yes,
and I think that's why there are so many primaries, because they're saying we need a voice again in Steuben.
We need to be heard.
Yeah, we need people in there that are reasonable, making decisions in our best interest.
Correct.
And when you see
not in their best interest.
Yeah, and you see the cost of how much this is continuing to cost us.
It's up to $250,000 now.
That is unbelievable. $250,000.
Yep.
I would ask the taxpayers, do you think there's a better use of $250,000 in Steuben County?
I can show you one.
Yeah, exactly. We might talk about that a little bit later on. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. And joining us in the Hesselson studio, Sheriff Allard. All right, let's get right back into it. There's so much to cover. I didn't realize that when I put all this together this morning, and then I like to go on tangents and blow my whole schedule. The one viewer did ask a question, hey, did you hear the NFL allows the tush push, a move that the Philadelphia Eagles used last year? Do you want to weigh in on that?
And the Bills.
Yeah. Everybody used it. I'm not shocked that they kept that. Anyway, talk about off topic. Let's talk about the staffing analysis. I think last time we were just in the process of this all kind of coming about. Yes. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we looked at the current staffing of the sheriff's office in wake of the questions about our overtime and really took a deep dive as to where it should be. Responsibly, and by responsibly I mean the fact that we've gone from 7 full-time to 3 full-time police departments in the county, and we've seen a reduction in the state police in the county and across the state.
Right.
And all of these areas, we just had another homicide a week ago that we investigated, and it's a more dangerous society right now, and it's a more transient society. And with bail reform, the number of arrests continue to go up every year. Yeah. So responsibly, what should we have out there? And we use comparables. We looked at other counties of similar situations.
I thought that was interesting how you did that, because it actually worked out mathematically that you could.
Very well. Yeah. And so we obviously need an increase in the number of deputies, a vast increase. Yeah. And when you talk about the $250,000, what can we do? Well, we just got a grant for 2 new cars, so with $250,000, we could put 2 new deputies on right now.
Yeah.
Boom. But we did the presentation, and I had the 2 lieutenants do a good chunk of it, and the undersheriff, simply because I found that if I do the presentation, there's a segment of the legislature that just doesn't hear it.
Right.
They just shut off.
Yeah.
It's the reality of the situation. So they listened as the lieutenant spoke about going on calls by themselves and with no one else in the county. And
in the distance. We talked about, I think, last time.
Traveling a half an hour from call to call. Yeah. And I believe they heard us. And I'm hopeful that they have I gave them a plan, a 5-year plan to be able to accomplish this. I'm hopeful that they follow through on the budget.
Cautiously optimistic.
I am. I am. There's some folks on the legislature that really want to do good work. There are.
I agree.
I've never wanted to paint the legislature as a whole as this big monster.
Right.
Because that's not the case.
Right.
There are several members that are super committed to their community and are there for the right reason.
Right.
We just don't hear about them that much. But I believe that they are, and Legislator Horton from Campbell said immediately, let's look at putting 2 on this year.
Oh, great.
And then he says, I'm not going to guarantee we're going to do your whole plan, but let's look at what we can do in the budget over the next few years.
Isn't that what we always wanted, was a conversation? Let's just have the conversation.
Correct.
Instead of always kind of quashing everything that
Well,
you suggest.
or submit it and we'll talk about it behind closed doors.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then we'll tell you what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You know? And so it felt like this is how it should work. And I was excited about that.
Good.
And happy that, we had the people there to speak instead of me. But
Well, you can go to less meetings now.
that would be lovely.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to happen, at least to some extent, responsibly. They really need to follow the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Then we've got to find the people to hire.
Yeah.
And we will. We've got some folks coming up. It's funny right now. I've got 3. They're all sons, but 3 sons of current employees that are 2 are in the academy and 1 is getting ready to go in the
That's
academy.
neat.
And they're interested in being part of the team.
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat.
And speaking of being a part of the team, how are the new corrections officers?
So far, so good. I did hear yesterday that the state is reversing course and offering some of them to come back. No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
We'll see how that affects
That's
us.
almost more insulting. Hey, you know how you haven't had a paycheck
Since February?
Since February? By the way, let's forget this all happened.
Yeah. Let's start over.
Yeah.
Let's go to counseling.
Yeah, exactly.
I never cheated on you. It never happened.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's same with the prison closures and the budget. Everything is so. We talked about this with Phil Palmisano last week. Everything seems to be just one big insult to corrections officers. Who would take the job?
Well, if you look at law enforcement in general over the
that's
last
true,
5 years,
Yeah.
And we talked about yesterday. I went to a meeting with all the Western sheriffs of New York State, and we got into a discussion about the Attorney General's investigations of in custody deaths. And at the end of that investigation, they only come back with 2 things: either we're taking you to grand jury, or there's not enough evidence to take you to grand jury. It never comes back that the use of force was necessary and justified. Well, that opens the door to all kinds of lawsuits and questions. And if you're going to do the investigation, do it correctly and come back with a valid response. But again, that just shows you the attitude of you're wrong.
You're right.
And we're going to try and find a way to show you're wrong. Oh, you can prove you're not wrong. Well, we're not going to say you're not wrong, and we're definitely not going to say you're right.
Yeah.
But we're just going to say there's nothing we can do.
Well, and that's been the case from the beginning. When you already have what you think the conclusion should be, you're working towards that.
Right.
It's
That's
already
not an investigation.
It's not done in good faith.
That's
right from
a
the beginning.
justification.
Yes, absolutely. And just before we talk about some of that with the New York State budget, because we haven't talked about that either. How did the lunch go for the new corrections officers? How'd you do?
Good,
it?
really
Yeah.
good. They enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They appreciated it.
Yep, their first day on the job, a pizza party. Not too bad
Yeah,
a place
we
to work.
did. Captain Mills and I did 60 pizzas in 3 hours, I think.
And everybody liked them.
They scarfed them.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, they're
it was
used
good.
to having pizza during the strike.
Yeah.
That was their diet for a month.
Yeah.
I better take a break. But when we come back, I do want to pick your brain a little bit about the state budget. If you think there's anything positive out of that $250 billion. $250 billion.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. This is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program, and joining us in the Hesselson studio. Isn't this great to have this many sponsors?
It is.
Yeah, we love and thank them all. But joining us in the sheriff, excuse me.
And I got to tell you, the Office for the Aging has really expanded their footprint
They're doing great.
in what they're doing to help folks. So it's good to see.
Yeah, and they have an upcoming meeting. I don't have the date right in front of me, but about kind of these scams and fraud going around affecting seniors.
Yeah.
You hear about it every day. It's so
Yeah.
sad. So what did you think, speaking of scams, what did you think about the New York State budget?
It's still not clear
No.
all what's in there. I know some of the things that are not in there is we pushed a bill and we pushed it towards the budget to try and make our school resource officers part of the state aid package through BOCES.
Yeah.
So that didn't make it. We tried to get the maximum earnings for a retiree raised. It's still $35,000 a year.
Okay.
Tried to get that raised. That didn't. We were told it would make it. That didn't make it. Some of the things that I'm excited that they're not in the budget, but they're still being worked on, and they've made it out of committee with the Assembly and the Senate, is we have a bill to give confidentiality to peer counselors for first responders.
Yeah.
That's still moving forward, so I'm excited about that. We've been backing that. But yeah,
I mean, first of all, I think the mask ban, I don't know why Governor Hochul took such a strong stance
on that,
and said we're going to fight, and then it's got no teeth, like always.
Right.
This is what she does.
Well, and again, you look at so much of what comes out of the budget, it's specific to pander to a specific group.
Yeah, so she can put the press release out and say, we're really...
I did it.
I know, and that's what obviously she realized after Lee Zeldin that she's got to do something about public safety.
Right.
But she never does, just enough that she can have the press release. And and that's what I think with the discovery. Better than nothing. I mean, it's unfortunate that's how we always respond to the budget. I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Well, when you move the needle from here to here,
right,
and then you get it back to here, you go, oh, well, that's better than here.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
That's the loss that we've accepted, I guess.
Yep.
We were talking about corrections officers earlier, and I didn't get a chance to ask, how was unity in the community with Dr. Coleman?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was well received.
Oh, good.
I told Mayor Mandel, I'm like, you got to work on your scheduling, because the last one we had was outside in the rain, and then we had this one and it was 80 degrees.
It was
and
a beautiful
sunny.
day. That's funny, but
it was well received, and
good.
You know, I've known Mayor Mandel for a long time. First as the jail superintendent down in Chemung County.
Oh, that's right.
And
he does a good job.
He does a very good job, and he's very passionate. And I thought that was well done, and it was well delivered. And Senator O'Mara delivered a very good message, and obviously Tom Santulli always does. And you know, it's something I didn't realize it till I heard Sheriff Schramm's letter read. How much of his family was in state corrections.
Oh, really? I didn't.
You know, a couple of uncles and cousins, and but that's the way it is in Elmira. If you're an old Elmira family, you've got a lot of folks that have worked for the state, and you know, who knows what the next 3 are that are closed.
I know.
You know, the cynical side of me worries that a vindictive governor might target this area again.
An area that doesn't vote for her.
Correct.
There's that part to it.
Yeah.
But that's going back to the corrections officers. So these people put their life on the line every day. They've got a very difficult job, a stressful job. Now you have with the HALT Act, we can go into all that. But also, just to add salt to the wound, you could be told in 90 days you have to uproot your family because we're closing your prison. Either you want
after 20 years.
After 20 years, you can drive 3 hours, or you're going to have to move.
Yeah.
In 90 days, it's impossible to uproot your family.
Correct. Well, and it's impossible for them to close the facility in 90 days.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's supposed to be a year. That's it only makes sense, but we don't necessarily make a whole lot of sense with our state budget.
No, I also like with the budget, to also get on a tangent, I like that we're depending so much on the feds, because I have a feeling that's going to go well. But then, to Governor Hochul's credit on this one, she put the checks and balances in there, so it's pretty much up to her on what she can cut.
I will tell you this, we had our Western Sheriff's meeting, and Sheriff Milby from Wayne County is on that, because he has a northern border county. He's on the National Association of Sheriffs, Border Sheriffs, and he just went down to Texas for a week and met with them, and the border crossings since the first of the year have reduced by 95%.
Wow.
95%.
And why don't you see that anywhere?
You don't see that anywhere in the media.
Success,
in the northern crossings, he checked with the district over here that covers us in Vermont, and they're also down 95%.
That's great, because that was something that was so overlooked. And I give Congressman Langworthy a lot of credit, because he brought this up, I want to say relatively early, because most people, when you think the border, if I say the border, you're not thinking to the north. And that was becoming that was becoming a huge issue.
And actually, the Border Patrol reported to him that right now the biggest movement is folks when ICE comes to town, they're crossing the border northerly into Canada to get away.
Oh, interesting.
And that's what they're seeing in their section right now. But the Mounties have upped their ante, and are capturing folks and saying, whoa, no.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right, we got to take our last break, wrap up this hour, get your last minute questions in for the sheriff, and we're going to end on all good notes. I saved all the good ones.
That's awesome.
End. Yeah, finally, once. I'm sure I'll change that in a minute. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. It's hard to believe we are wrapping up today's program with the sheriff. There we go. It's the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program, and we're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. So some good news. By the way, how much fun was it? This is one of the main reasons I ran for Irwin Town Council, because of this. I say that jokingly. Is the Forest View Gang Mills Fire Department banquet. That is a blast every year.
It is it's a good time because they're good folks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a family atmosphere, obviously, with the beer Weilers.
Oh yeah.
And it's a joy. I've gone to it every year since I was under sheriff.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And it's always a highlight of the banquet season.
It is. Yeah.
As you know, I go to a lot of fire banquets.
Sure, of course.
And that one's one of the highlights that I look forward to. It's fun, but also it's in the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I do. It's very rare that I can say that I have an event on a Saturday and I'm excited for it.
Right.
Like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just such a fun time. So,
it always is.
As always, thanks for the invite. You got a couple big events coming up. It's already, it doesn't feel it necessarily, but it's getting summertime.
It is.
First of all, I think this is a wonderful idea. The open,
before we know it.
I know. The open house is the first one that's coming up. Tell us about this.
So as we're looking at our challenges in staffing and recruiting, and again, I steal my best ideas. I saw another county that did an open house for recruitment, and we're doing so much, not just police, but first police and corrections, but first responder. We're teaming up with the Hammondsport Fire Department and the county EMS, and we're holding an open house July 19th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be at the Hammondsport Fairgrounds. And we're going to have our folks there doing demos. We're going to have firefighters there doing demos, and hopefully EMS there. And I'm going to see if we can get somebody from the county personnel office there for it. It'll be 10 to 4. And we're going to try and drum up some interest and say this is what we do and what you can do if you come work with us.
Yeah.
And if you want to serve your community, be part of the solution, this is how you can do it. And, I was talking with some college kids the other day, and they were asking some a little bit grumpy questions about law enforcement. I said, look, if you want to change it from the inside.
Yeah.
Become part of it. If you don't like what you see, change it from the inside, because it's easy to sit outside and throw rocks.
Of course.
That's the easiest thing in the
world.
That's my job. Well,
I said it, not you.
But if you want to change things, become part of it. Become part of the solution.
Yes. And then, this is going to be fun, the annual golf tournament.
Yes.
You've been doing this how many years, do you think?
This one's going to be another 10-year anniversary.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I know we talk about it every year, but then we don't have a lot of time left on the show, but it's not too late to be a sponsor, of course.
Correct.
It's not too late to get a team together.
Correct.
And it's cutthroat. It's at Twin Hickory this year.
Yes, we're going to have it at Twin Hickory up in Hornell this year. And Corning Catering will be there for the dog at the turn and the banquet at the end. And
is Billy playing this year?
He has a team, yes.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
Yes, if you want to see Billy Spalding play golf, come to our golf
Which
tournament.
is everybody's dream. It's on August.
It is.
It's on August 22nd. Is there? What's the best way to sign up for a team?
Get a hold of Terry Moore.
Okay.
My secretary at 607-622-3930.
Okay, we'll have plenty of time to promote that before the event, but we want sponsors, of course, to call now so they can be a part of it and to get teams going. The more the merrier.
Yep.
Great food and a fun time.
And again, that raises money for the Sheriff's Foundation, which donates everything to the Memorial Park.
Right.
And has donated 5 canines to the agency so far.
That's great.
And a bunch of training. They just donated, I think it was $8,000 worth of supervisor liability training.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just amazing what they do.
They do. And finally, just because I don't want people to be upset, boaters course.
Yep, every month.
Every month. That's simple as that.
Yep.
You have to have your license.
Yes. And actually, we had our Cuco Lake Association meeting a week ago, and there's a little wrinkle. If you rent and you're over 18,
Yeah.
and you're from out of state, you don't have to have it as long as the renter has one, the person renting, and gives you a safety course.
Yeah.
And they're responsible for you. Yeah.
We had a viewer bring that up after you were on the last time. I read it
Yep.
on the air, and I said, that's a very glaring loophole. It
It
seems
is.
like that
It
should
is.
be maybe looked at a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they did that when they first went with PWCs. You could ride one without if you stayed in a certain specific area.
Okay. I see.
And not, but yeah, but if you're operating other than renting, anybody, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter how long you've been doing
Yeah,
it.
that's the big point.
You gotta have it, and you can do it online. My son just did it online. He said it wasn't
Not too bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
So if you can't get into a class, you can go to the New York State Parks and Recreation website, and you can do it online too.
Great. Well, we are at time. Sheriff, thanks for giving us so much time this morning.
Yes.
Let's do it again next month, okay?
It's always enjoyable. Yes.
Tomorrow on the program, tune in, Joe Sempolinski,
Hey.
former Congressman and Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. So join us tomorrow and every weekday morning at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow.